The second one would be using the term a bit loosely and thinking broadly, is really preparing ourselves to manage a much more complex geography of the continent. And we've talked a lot about this in various forms today, right? This idea about markets and how you would really map markets vice national jurisdictions. So what does that mean for the US government as we try and get our private sector more engaged and in the game? The reality of multiple fora. So there's the state level, when we've talked about the sub-regional organizations in the AU, and the fact that African actors, just like actors anywhere, right, are looking for the forum that's most likely to deliver some results, or alternately, they're looking for the forum that's going to stop something they don't want to see happening. So how we manage to nimbly have some influence in all these different places, understand where the action really, really is, and really cope with the fact that as enthusiastic as many Pan-Africanists are about the developments at the AU, and I think they are incredibly exciting. It's a completely different organization from what it was just a few years ago. The fact that nationalism is not a dead characteristic on the continent, that in fact, in all of these societies, but particularly the ones that are democratic, everyone, just as we are in the States, is managing a society of multiple identities, right? And I think about this especially in the context of this urbanization trend, where you have a city now full of economic actors with multiple identities, multiple loyalties, and the different ways that politics touches on that, the different constraints that might place on our partners in government. These are things that are real and that matter and that we need to think about. And those multiple identities, I would just throw out, I think are particularly important in countries that are recovering from crisis, appear to be on a very positive trajectory, but where there's maybe not been a very thorough reckoning with the past or reconciliation process. Those multiple identities can be reactivated in times of crisis in ways that can be incredibly destabilizing. All this complex geography at a time when South Africa and Nigeria are increasingly looking inward. They've got a lot of their own business to take care of, and are unlikely to be exercising the kind of influence regionally that perhaps they have in the past. It's a really complex stew. And just to follow up on Jennifer's point about the Sahel, and I think she did a great job articulating just how challenging and complex the terrain is. But I think when we think about how the U.S. positions itself to better engage and pursue our interests, there is no better example of a place where we actually need to relook at our own kind of formal bureaucratic lines, right? We're just not terribly well positioned to think about the Sahel in a rational and effective way. Because different parts of our government understand the Africa region differently, we end up not having the conversations that we need to have. Because the borders in that part of the world are sometimes not terribly meaningful, we end up not having the conversations that we need to have, and we're just on the back foot kind of time and again.